Good morning, I'm Barbe Chambliss. I live up on Fire Mountain Road, and sometimes I'm in Carbondale also. I am a therapist, a mediator, and an organic apple farmer in the valley here. And I have been working for 30 years, even longer than I've been here, on gathering women peacemaker stories. When I was a little kid, I always wanted to know how peace was made. It was really clear how war was made. You could go to boot camp and you could figure out how war was made. But because of some life events I had, I just really wanted to know, well, how do you do the opposite? How do you make peace? So I've been interviewing over 60 women all over the world, sometimes taking my kids with me, for 3 or 4 hours just to find out how they do work that actually, let me do it this way. If you put your hands like this, let's say this is peace. You raise one and lower the other, this is not peace because you've got a dominant and you've got a subordinate element. And so I would say to people, do you know any woman that is making this happen? And that simple little hand thing was magical. People would go like, oh yeah, here's this woman's name, or here's this. So these women in this book right here, which is called Women Peacemakers, What We Can Learn from Them, is the story of 15 different ordinary women who just looked around in their environment and said, you know, something's not right here. Something's not fair here. Something's not just here. I think I'll just see what I might do to help. And they all started small, and then they just woke up every single day and stayed committed to the whole thing. And they turned out to do these phenomenal projects. And they were not in it for the fame. I had to go hunt for these women. But their stories are very inspiring. I will tell you briefly that as halfway through, one woman, who is this woman right here, Judith Jenyan, she had a camp for kids that had barely survived the Bosnian War. And I volunteered to be part of that camp. And that changed everything for me. And it changed everything for this book. Because when I saw what war does to children and to hope and to communities and to ancient libraries, I changed my goal in life. My goal right now is to wake up the conscious peacemaker in as many people as I can. And this book is a start to do that. So I tell the women's stories, and then I ask each woman, what advice would you give to a young peacemaker? And I've got all that information in here. I noticed 24 things that was pretty common about how these women behave, and they're really simple things. So there's a chapter with nothing but bullets of those things. And the final chapter, chapter 18, asks the reader or invites the reader to commit an act of peacemaking, document it, write it up, write it in the back of this book if you want to, and then mail it into me. So I'm going to be collecting peacemakers right up until they put me on the ground. And I wanted to read you today about one of the women. Her name is Yvonne DeMillo. And I got an envelope one day in my mailbox, and somebody said, you know, I was flying on United Airlines. I saw their airline magazine, and I read a sketch about this woman, and she might be a peacemaker you want to interview. So I got on the phone and I called her. I'm going to show you a picture of her right here. This is Yvonne's picture. And I asked her if I could interview her about her peacemaking work. And she said, well, sure. She said, I'm just doing work. I don't know if you call it peacemaking or not. And I said, when can I interview you? And she said, well, my daughter is going to college in the United States. So I'm coming up to her graduation in 4 months. So this interview took place actually in New York City in her daughter Isabel's apartment. And it was really cool to get both generations of this story. So I will read you quickly. So basically, Yvonne decided to tackle the problem of the street children in Rio de Janeiro. And this will give you a little description of what that situation was like and how she went about making a difference in the lives of those children. So she's now describing to me what the neighborhood looks like that she works in. This is her quote. With the drug lords, it becomes submission of the masses. The drug lords live in the wealthy part of the city, but the drug dealers have taken over all the poor communities. It's like the Middle Ages. You have to do what they tell you because they have guns on their hips. It's ghettos ruled by gun barrels. And the people in the shanty towns are in a state of submission. Sometimes the government is afraid of coming in. So there are open conflicts between the drug dealers and the police every single day. So the people in the shanty towns, they submit. They don't know how to fight all that. And that's where I go in. Yvonne's metaphor for herself as a peacemaker is a white revolution. That means a revolution by information. She says that means I inform the masses and give them the tools to fight against oppression themselves. When I asked her why they let her into the ghettos, Yvonne said, I don't know, because I'm just like that. I think there may have been a reincarnation from another life when I was very poor and lived in such a place, because I'm very at ease there. I'm never afraid. Not so for her daughter, Isabel. When I asked if the work is dangerous, Isabel quickly interjected, It's very dangerous. There's always shooting, raising her eyebrows to emphasize her point. When I started going to work in the streets with my mother at age 12, the first thing I learned was to duck and pray. Let's see, go back here for a second. Yvonne works with a specific group of street children. She also works with children in 2 shanty towns, one of which overflows with 12,000 people. Many of these children have never known their fathers. Some have been raped and or beaten at very young ages. I asked if she feels like she becomes a surrogate parent for some of them. She was quite clear with her answer. No, she said, because I don't want to be a parent. I want to be more than that. If you're like a mother, you get sentimental. If you're sentimental, they're going to think that you're weak. So you have to be loving but not sentimental, because you see people getting killed every day. When I see a kid getting killed, I can't be sentimental because this one's gone. They respect me because I am strong. I can deal with situations every day. I see so many kids killed in front of me. I realize I couldn't save that one, but I have to think about the others. If you don't think that way, you can't do this job. Otherwise, you would be complete gravy. Naively, I thought Yvonne, the white revolutionary, must teach these children to read and write as one might do in a traditional school. But there is absolutely nothing traditional about how Yvonne transfers information to these children. She intuitively identifies what each child needs on a moment-to-moment basis. She told me that her first objective is to teach them that they exist. This phrase brought me up short and has haunted me ever since she said it. What is it like not to know that you exist? How did I learn that I existed? Yvonne is clear about her plan for teaching these children that they exist. She begins by teaching them the mechanics of the society in which they live. What is a neighborhood? A city, a state, a country, and what are the laws in these places? That's very important because if they know the mechanics and the laws, they will know for the first time when a law is being broken. She tells the children to straighten up their homes and make the streets they live on safe for others to walk on them. Perhaps one of Yvonne's most poignant ways of teaching existence is to take a child by the hand and stand out in the street and look up at the sky and together yell, I am someone! I will never forget my reaction to hearing Yvonne say those words. Time stood still for that moment. I remember where the sun was shining on the floor, the smell of the pastries we were eating. This struck me as one of the most simple, powerful acts of peacemaking that I had ever encountered.